Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Let me start by showing you a time lapse of a drive I had recently while I explain you what this video is going to be about. So today I'm going to share with you the one secret you must know if you want to stop losing money each time you sell a car. There are ways to make money when you buy and sell your cars, but for some reasons everybody seems to think that a car always loses value. This is simply because most people get it wrong. In simple words, this is the secret you must know. You are not making money on a car when you sell it, but when you buy it. And that's very important, so let me say it again. You're not making money on a car when you sell it, but when you buy it. Okay, easy to say, you tell me, but this is not true because I bought my car brand new, for example, or because I have a low value car, or because whatever. Just put any reason that pops into your mind. I can show you that it's not true. I can give examples for each and every one of these reasons that it's not true. Just to talk about my own experience, I've owned 10 cars over the past 18 months, all types of cars, from very cheap low-end cars to high-end full option saloon cars, and even vans or classic cars. And on each and every one of them I made money when I sold them. Some of them made me more than others, but I still managed to make money on all of them. So how did I do that? Am I a very pushy salesperson type of guy? Those of you who have followed me and on this channel for a while will know that this is not true at all. Quite the opposite, actually. I'm very shy, so this is not the reason why I've managed to make money on my cars, which is good news for those of you that are like me. Yes, it is possible to make money on cars even if you're not comfortable talking to strangers or selling stuff. It is easy to do, and I'll show you how. But first, let's have a look at how the second-hand car industry works, because you need to have a good understanding of it so that you can use it to your advantage. Basically, any car goes through a number of phases during its life. If we take the value of the cars here versus the time, there are three main phases. The first one is a big loss of value as soon as you take your car through the dealership's doors when you buy it brand new. This phase is always there, and the losses value is huge. For some people, that's difficult to understand. Why a car that's only been driven for half a mile sometimes has already lost up to 10% of its value. It's still a brand new car. Actually, it's not even 1 mile on the clock. Yes, fair enough. But it's the same everywhere, isn't it? Let's imagine, for example, you're into comic books. You've got a brand new comic book that's still in its plastic, and you've got the exact same comic book, but it's never been read or anything, never been open, but it's no longer in its plastic. Which one would you pay more for if you were a comic book collector? The one in the plastic package, wouldn't you? Well, with cars it's exactly the same. As soon as you take it out of the dealership, it loses value. There are very few examples of cars that were more expensive second-hand than brand new. One of them was the 2CV actually. When it first came out of the Citroën production lines in France, it became so popular so quickly that Citroën couldn't cope with the demand, and waiting lists were sometimes up to 2 years to get your brand new 2CV. So what did people do? Well, easy. They went to buy second-hand 2CVs, and their prices grew so high that it was soon more expensive to buy a second-hand 2CV than a brand new one, but at least you could get it straight away. This is the offer and demand law for you. But this is very rare, so let's get back to the standard way things are. So right after this first phase, you have taken your car out of the dealership. It's going to lose value consistently over the years. A good rule of thumb is usually around 30% of its value per year. This will of course depend on the cars, but it's a good value to keep in mind. This loss of value will carry on more or less until the car gets to 10 to 15 years old, depending on the cars, and then it will reduce a lot. And from this moment on, the car will lose very little value, and this can go for a certain number of years, depending on the cars. it will actually carry on until the car is old enough to be considered as a classic, and then its value will go up, and sometimes very high. It's the case, for example, for the Jaguar E-Type. This car used to sell in the early 80s for less than 200 quid. But now some of them are selling for over 200 grand. It's crazy. I mean, it's more than the price of a small house. And it's still a car that requires a lot of attention and a lot of maintenance. It's hard to find spares, and if you want to have someone to service it for you, it will cost you even more. But still, people are happy to pay this high price for it because of the value this car has. So with that in mind, how can you make money with cars? I can already hear you tell me, I don't want to wait for 30 years or more to sell my car in order to make money. Fair enough. And yes, this would be one way of making money with cars. You buy it brand new, and then you wait for 30-40 years and you sell it. But that's providing it's become a classic in the meantime, which with the number of different models coming out of the production lines these days, it's statistically less likely that every car will become a classic. But it doesn't matter, because there's another way to make money with cars. A smarter way, actually. So we just saw a car is losing value over the years. This value is called the market value, by the way. It is the amount of money people are willing to pay in average for a car that old. And here the on average is very important, because this is what makes all the difference, and this is where people don't get it usually. Most people have a bad idea about car salespeople, and this is because what bad car salespeople do is that they push people to buy a car over its market value. Sometimes they will throw into the dealer 3 months guarantee or something like that. But I know firsthand, for having worked with car dealers, that some of them make sure that the car is okay for the next 3 months before they give away any type of guarantee. Then if it fails, it doesn't matter, because it's no longer under guarantee, so it's no longer their problem. But there is another way, more honest, to make money with cars, and this is the way I do it, and the way smart people do it. So let's say you want to buy a car that is that old. So its market value is here. And now, what if you could buy this car for this value? Then, if you sell it back after a few months or even a year or two, you just have to sell it to its market value to make money. It's as simple as that. There is nothing more to it. And people would be happy to pay market value for your car. And the great thing about that is that you can do it at any stage of the car lifetime. You can do it with a brand new car, or almost brand new, buy it under its market value and sell it back for profit. You could do it for a middle-aged car, as we just saw, and same thing for a classic car. Of course, it would be more difficult with a new car because of the steep loss of value, but it's still possible. I personally prefer doing it with classic cars because of as their value is going up over the years, once you sell them back, you make an even bigger profit. As I said, over the past 18 months, I've never lost money on my cars, and quite the contrary, I've made money each time I've sold one. But that's only because I had bought them below their market value. There can be a lot of different reasons why people would let their car go under the market value. Maybe they need it gone quick because they're moving, or maybe they don't know what the real value of their car is, which normally never happens because people tend to think their car is worth much more than it actually is. But at the end of the day, the reason doesn't really matter. You just need to find a good car and go for it. Worst case scenario, you just need to make sure you will break even if you sell it back. So, big question, is this legal? Yes, completely legal. I don't know how it is in every country on the planet, but each country has its own rules as to how many cars people are allowed to buy and sell on their private name every year. For the UK it's 6, in France it's 7, I don't know how many it is in the US, but basically even 6 cars a year in the UK means that you can change cars every 2 months. And then if you needed to change again, then just teach your wife or your parents or whoever to do it, and that's it. This is also a very good method if you want to drive a better car like I did over the past few years. When I arrived in this country, I didn't have anything. I just arrived with a piece of luggage and that's it. Then I bought a car for £300, I sold it back for 600. Then I bought another car for 600 and I sold it for 800, and so on until I was driving a big Audi A6 full options. Another question I usually get when I explain the way I go about that is what about the taxes? Don't you have to pay taxes on the money you make on cars? Yes and no, actually. Yes, because normally you have to pay, if you have a revenue, you need to pay tax on it. But no, because there are laws that say that you can make up to a certain amount of money before you have to declare it. So again, check with your country, but in the UK I know for sure that at the moment it's £1,000 you're allowed to make. So let's say you wanted to buy a car to restore. You need £500 to invest in tools, for example, because you don't have anything. Actually, £500 is a lot. In most cases, you wouldn't even need that much. But let's assume you need £500. Then you just have to find a car to restore with the rest of the money. And I've bought cars for much less than £500. Actually, the cheapest I've bought, apart from the cars I was given, was probably about between £50 and £150. So I'm going to make a more detailed training for people who are interested in learning more about all that, because I've gotten a lot of questions in the comments and on my email. So I really want to do that for you guys. I want to explain in more details where to look for a good car, what to look for when you go and see a car to buy, where to find tools and what sort of tools you need, how to negotiate your cars when you buy them and when you sell them, etc. All your questions, I'm gonna make a training to answer them. If you are interested in hearing about all this and even more, it's very easy. Just click on the link I put in the description of the video, give me your email address so that I can send you the stuff, and that's it. It's as simple as that. It seems very easy when explained properly, but unfortunately most people don't know about this principle because it's not taught in school. Some people learned how this works by themselves, like I did, but some never hear about it when actually it would be very easy to improve the way they live. But of course, this is not for everybody. Some people are afraid of something they don't know, and if it changes them from what they're used to, then they tend to steer clear from it. When actually, by only making this little extra step, things would improve a lot for them. What I usually ask myself in this sort of situation is, what's the worst that can happen? In this case here, not much, right? You might learn a thing or two, and even if you don't, well, you haven't lost anything, have you? But oh well, if it's still scaring you, then just don't do it. And don't do anything and keep things the way they are. And if you want things to improve, then just click on the link below this video and join us. Talk to you soon.